Welcome to That Digital Take. I'm your host, Torri Webster. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the pod. Guys, I have a special guest today. Please welcome Jaclyn Forbes to the podcast.
Torri! I'm so excited to be here. This is so cool.
This is a very huge upgrade from our previous podcast together where we were in a closet and just making it all work. No help, no producer, no editing software.
No, this is the real deal. I have an earpiece in right now. I've got this is a studio.
You're feeling supported.
I'm feeling supported, but also overwhelmed. This is such a production in here.
Wow.
This is long gone are the days of us in the closet.
I know. Well, you obviously had to be the first guest on the pod because there's only good juju if we have Jaclyn as the first guest. So this will be the first time we have actually brought a guest on the show.
Oh,
so I think the angle for today and what would be really interesting for people, obviously those that follow us and know us know that we're really close friends and have that as, our background. However, I think for today, we're going to obviously peel away the friendship piece and chat more about your life in the industry and as an influencer and kind of deep dive into what that means to you and go a little deeper. How do you feel about that?
Tor, you have taught me honestly so much, and I feel like when I kind of started my career, it's when I met you. So in so many ways, I feel like the industry we were able to navigate together. So I feel like you're the perfect person to dive on into it. And you are the queen of business. So I feel like this makes so much sense.
Yay. Okay, so the beginning is a good place to start.
Yes.
So for those who don't know us or you, maybe give us a little background about how you became an influencer and how you personally kind of got into the world of social media.
For sure. Okay, so I started on YouTube when I was 16. I probably knew when I was 13 that I wanted to make YouTube videos. I was obsessed with watching YouTube, all the beauty gurus, the OGs, Megan Hart's makeup. I call her out all the time. I used to obsessively watch her and all of her MAC collections and makeup storage. And I was so into nail polish. And anyway, so I was so into that world just as a consumer and watched it 24/7. Anyone that knows me, I'm not a big TV or movie watcher, but I would spend hours watching YouTube. So I knew at that age, I loved that world. And then probably when I was 15, I made the YouTube channel, but I didn't, it just sat there empty. I waited until I finished high school. I moved to Toronto, and then I posted my first video when I was 16, which is crazy. And then it's been I guess going ever since. But it probably took me about 2 years until I started taking it seriously. And it was a job.
So chat about that a little bit. You said you waited until you left high school. Why did you do that? Because you were fuck the haters. You didn't want people knowing your life intimately, while you were still in high school?
It was just the fact that at that time, posting on the internet was still weird. It wasn't cool. Now it's so normal. Everyone's posting on Instagram. Everyone's making videos. It was still an odd thing to do. And at the time, I'd been away from my hometown at a school for probably 6 months at that point. And I remember still being oh my gosh, people are gonna think I'm so weird, which you get over that so quick, but that was still very real to me. And I was someone who at the time, I did acting when I was younger. I always loved being the center of attention. I was always that kid in class that would stand up and do presentations. So I wasn't a shy person at all. And and if I felt that way and I was pretty out there already, I mean, I don't know, I guess that's kind of telling, but no, I just waited until I was far away from anyone that knew me. But I did post about it on my personal Instagram. So I didn't keep it a secret by any means, but I needed some distance, I think.
That's fair. I also like the saying, all success is on the other side of cringe mountain. How are you supposed to get anywhere in life unless you kind of put yourself out there? And I know now we've shed back those layers. And I mean, so my boyfriend Adam says that, yeah, because this is just so Jaclyn. Now people make fun of her for putting everything on the internet. My boyfriend Adam says, Jaclyn's brand is so great because she could post one day about a turtle. What even
giant
was that?
jelly turtle. Get with it.
Jelly turtle. And then the next she could be on a billboard in Dundas Square, with a huge global makeup brand. So it's the dichotomy of Jaclyn is really there. And it's you've clearly grown into that though. Yeah. You're saying it wasn't always that way, which
No, if you watch my first videos when I'm 16, I am acting what I how I imagine a YouTuber should act. I'm talking very proper this, and I have a little candle in the background and my little fairy lights, and I always, at a young age, I knew it could turn into a career. It was kind of at that turning point where I was watching Bethany Moda, who had an Aeropostale clothing collection in real life. So I knew there was some crossover into the real world and it could be a career. So I took it seriously from day one. But I think at that time, being 16, I wanted to be taken seriously. So I didn't want to come across as immature or young. So I always had a professionalism hat, which I think I've kind of stripped away and learned to unlearn in a way, because I mean, it's the internet, and we know the whole reason the internet works is because it isn't like traditional media and people can see that realness. So I think it's like a learned behavior to show more of myself. But there was definitely an era where, and I mean, it's hard to kind of navigate. Was it just because I was young and still figuring out who I was? Or was it because I was, you know, getting into the groove of it all? But there definitely was like a formality that I had at first. And you watch back those videos and it's not that they're cringy. I guess like the first stuff is always, there's a learning curve. I'm grateful to have everything there. And I think it's actually really interesting. I've never archived any of my OG videos. I think it's actually really beautiful to see the progression and like growth of being more comfortable on camera, but then also like learning camera skills and editing skills. So it's all up there. You can do a deep dive. It's kind of embarrassing, but
no, but it's a nice time capsule to have, and it kind of puts you in a different place in your life. And with that said, so you started on YouTube, and that's kind of where you got your beginnings, and in that long video format, which again, for those that have the background, like that is usually the hardest version of production. Like you're looking at like 10-minute videos, 20-minute videos, like the editing is so much longer. And then we obviously moved into an era where now it's like short form content. Everybody's obsessed with like, how do you tell a story within the first 3 seconds? So what is your relationship like with YouTube now? Do you still like obsess over watching long form content? Do you still create long form content? Where do you land on that?
It's interesting. I feel like I've always kind of gone through waves. I always at my core was like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. Like I never identified so much so with the word influencer. I feel like I'm actually curious to watch your other episodes and see kind of how you navigate that word, because I know we've had conversations offline about that. Content creator's always been a term that I think has resonated as the roles kind of evolved, but YouTuber was always like my core. When I would explain to people what I do, I was like, oh, I make YouTube videos. And then of course, sure, Instagram kind of was always like a side thing for me. And then TikTok kind of took over. I feel like video content's always where I felt the most comfortable and confident. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I've always just felt like that feels very inherent to who I am, to be talking on camera versus necessarily like a model and posing for photos and stuff.
Sure.
Even though there's like obviously aspects that I like of that. But yeah, I feel like I go through waves. I think when YouTube was really the only outlet, that's where I put all my energy into. And then when Instagram kind of evolved a bit more, like there was a time when you couldn't post video on Instagram, which is crazy to think about now.
Not that long ago.
Exactly. It really wasn't like that, like what, 5 years, maybe 6 years ago, that video started to become a thing on Instagram. So I think as the platforms offered more variety in what I could share, then I kind of started focusing on other platforms. But YouTube will always be my OG. I haven't posted on my YouTube channel a long form video in probably 5 months, which I'm coming back. Don't worry. I'll never. What's the Hannah Montana song? You'll always find your way back home.
For sure.
Like YouTube will always be my like community of people I feel like that also understand me the most, because they can see me the most unedited, and I feel like they've grown with me and get me. Like my community on there is so special, and I feel like there's some crossover always. Like some of those people probably follow me on TikTok or follow me on Instagram, but my YouTube audience is just like, that's like my like heart and my family to me.
Closer to you.
Yeah, I still consume a lot of YouTube. Like YouTube is like, I feel like it really prioritizes like long form video kind of podcast style content. At least that's what I consume a lot of. So I'll put on a YouTube video, clean my house, put on AirPods? One of the above. And I'll listen to like a 2-hour YouTube video still. So I find my consumer habits have changed a bit, whereas the beauty community that I used to be obsessed with on YouTube, I feel like has evolved a lot, and I probably go to beauty content more on TikTok versus YouTube. But long interview style podcasts, I'm still consuming a ton on YouTube. So I think it's like anything. The platforms kind of evolve and the trends evolve. And I've always said, I don't care where I'm posting or what I'm saying. Like as long as someone's down to listen, I hope, then I don't care if it's going on TikTok or YouTube or
I agree. So I like what you said about the word influencer and then content creator. I feel like there's also the pillar of, I guess in some ways, saying, hi, I'm a YouTuber would, in my opinion, be like the highest version of respect. Then,
is it though?
Well, let me say, and then you tell me if you agree.
Okay.
I'd say, hi, I'm a YouTuber would maybe be the highest form of like respect. Then it would be, hi, I'm a content creator. Then I think it would be, hi, I'm an influencer, in terms of if you had those three. And I've talked about on previous episodes, the word influencer, how tainted it is, how it like kind of carries this negative connotation, like how we have to challenge the industry to reframe that, how content creator, and even that doesn't encompass the 25 jobs we're doing in a day, whether that's wardrobe editing, producing, like the list goes on and on and on, as you know. But YouTuber, I always associate with like a David Dobrik, or like someone that is found like real like I know he's been since canceled, whatever. But like I'm just saying any YouTuber that's like found that true success, whether that's like just because they've hit millions of subscribers or not, I feel like saying that to an older generation is most understood.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. I think it depends. And what's so interesting is the internet has so many different like pockets and subgenres and different universes that it totally, I think, is reflective of the experience the person has had. So say, for example, I'm talking to like a 55-year-old. I'm trying to explain my job. And I'm like, oh, I make YouTube videos. They're like, oh, I know that Jake Paul, Logan Paul, didn't he film like in this controversial video? And so then they have a specific viewpoint. Whereas if I'm talking to someone my age, they're like, oh my God, YouTubers sick. Like, oh my God, I bet you're like doing X, Y, Z. And it depends what gen I'm talking to that gets it in a different way. So, you know, I definitely like pivot my job title depending on who I'm speaking to. But I don't know, like it's so hard to like have a clear like viewpoint of it because I'm so in the world.
Well, part of my journey here is thinking that actually none of it is respected. Like, and I mean that honestly, like that's part of challenging the entire industry, because I think that no matter who you meet, if they're outside of the entertainment industry and you say, hey, I'm an influencer, they say, okay.
Which I kind of get. Like, you've got people online that are like, I just clocked out. It's 5 p.m. Look at the day that I've had. Being an influencer is so hard. And they're like, babe, I'm a nurse. Like, look at my day. So I do get how things are misconstrued. But I think maybe the whole thing that gets lost is it is still a job. It's not the hardest job in the world. There 100%. Are amazing perks of it. It is still a job, and there's a lot to it that people don't see. But do I think it's the hardest job in the world? Absolutely not. Is it my dream job? Absolutely yes.
Yeah,
so I think that's where things, and no one wants to hear it. Who wants to hear
an influencer complain?
Well, exactly. Or it's like, I also think there's this thing, and this is like a new thought. I haven't even thought about this much, but maybe we can chat. Like, there's a lot of people that I end up meeting and they're like, oh, well, like I've actually secretly always thought I could do a podcast about this, or I actually think I'd be like a really good YouTuber if only I started when I was like 13 years old. A lot of our gen that grew up with a lot of internet culture, everyone kind of secretly thinks they're like, I could probably do that. And there's probably a lot of truth to that. If they would have just posted a video and gotten over that cringe hurdle, cringe mountain, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people probably could have. So it's kind of maybe hard to see someone that, like someone like me, not to say that I haven't worked hard, and for sure I have, but I was posting at 16 in 2014, which was a very special time. And I was very lucky that I got ahead of the curve in a certain way. Whereas if I was a 16-year-old posting today, would it be the same? Maybe not. So there's an aspect of luck, and I don't know. I think it's easy. I see how people get jaded and feel a type of way about it. If I wasn't doing what I was doing, I would probably be like feeling the same way.
100%. I can see why there's the jaded energy. I think more my perspective is there a world where if we do peel back those layers and we do kind of talk about these things more candidly, that people can understand that it's not just a pretty picture, it's not just a curated feed. I think that's more my challenge. Like I sometimes sit in rooms, or whether it's for a presentation or whether it's a dinner party, and it just feels like you try to express your job and then there's like this like feeling. And I guess that's more what I'm trying to combat against, because I think some of the most creative, talented people I've ever met have been people that just post on YouTube or create content for TikTok, et cetera, et cetera. So I see both sides 1,000%. Like, yeah, stop fucking complaining. It's the best job in the world. Yeah. And then the other side, which is there's actually a lot of soft and hard skills that fall into being a content creator. And let's be honest, if everyone could do it, they would, because that's the whole joke. We're saying it's like, yeah, it's kind of like the most epic job. So yeah, I see both sides, but I like that insight.
Yeah. And I think there was a time, I don't know, in my life or maybe in my career where I've like had to prove to people that I was like, it is a job and look at all these things that I'm doing. And I think it's like, if you get it, you get it. And I like the people that also, I feel like creatively or maybe on the same level, or people that also like have a similar work ethic or understand the industry even to a certain degree. Like the ones that get it, and the ones that aren't ever gonna get it or ever gonna respect it, they're never gonna be that way, right? So it's like, there's almost a certain point where I do have more peace now with being like, they can think I just take a selfie every day and pose with lip gloss, and sometimes that is my day and sometimes it's not. And if that's what they want to think of my job, they clearly don't even have an open enough mind to understand it. But I do think it's valuable, and what I think, I'm so excited to watch episodes of this. We're pre-filming before things come out, so I haven't seen anything yet. I am a true stan, though. I will watch every episode. But I think it's going to be very valuable for, like, if I was 15, 16 knowing I wanted to do this, learning on a podcast like this invaluable because there's so many things that I didn't know at the beginning, and I wish I had the insight, and that could have probably gotten me
so much
years
further
ahead.
earlier.
Maybe. Yeah.
So speaking of that, like, have you had some iconic or just super memorable influencer moments that you would be open to sharing?
Ooh. I mean, there's so many highlights, and it's so funny. Like, our worlds, I feel like, move so fast that not that I forget half of the things, but like I look back on my camera roll and it's like, oh, right. I forgot I was in South Korea with Laneige learning about beauty and K-beauty. Like, what? I remember probably some of my first press trips and brand invites just always felt so special. I'll start though maybe at the beginning because it also, I feel like the story offers me like a lot of gratitude and perspective. I was in makeup school at the time and trying to build my makeup kit. And I mean, back then makeup was so expensive, let alone fast forward to now how crazy prices have gotten. I was trying to build up my makeup kit, starting from ground zero. I was like 17 years old, posting on YouTube at the time. It hadn't really fully taken off or become like a full career yet. And I didn't understand what PR was. I didn't even get that. Like, I didn't know that even existed. I didn't know that brand trips, even before influencers, that was a thing with editors. Like, I didn't know any of that world. And somehow a brand had gotten my email and said, we'd like to send you 2 lipsticks. And these aren't any Charlotte Tilbury or, you know, fancy lipsticks. These were probably retailing at $3.95. Shout out. Love a budget find. And they mailed them to me for free, which I was like, you're sending me 2 lipsticks for free? Like, I remember coming home from school that day, racing home and getting that box and being just so hyped about it. I made like a 20-minute video about these 2 lipsticks, full dedicated brand coverage. Like, I didn't even understand the value in what I was doing, and that was like probably a lot of coverage, but I just was so excited by it. So that is funny too. And ever when I have moments where, I mean, you know, the world of PR, especially in the beauty world, everyone wants to send you tons of products to hope for that one Instagram story or for that TikTok feature or whatever. And, you know, I sometimes struggle with that because there's so much waste in our world, which like is painful when you open up this amazing PR box that you can clearly see has tons of thought in it, but there's like a TV screen in it that gets thrown out and in a landfill. Like, there's just so much waste that I do struggle with it sometimes. But ever in those moments, I think back to like the OG days when there was like 2 lipsticks and I was like, damn, I've made it. Mom, I got 2 lipsticks. Anyway, so that was the OG days. But yeah, brand trips that like come to mind. Going to South Korea with a skincare brand was like the coolest thing ever. I've never been to Asia before. I was flying first class for the first time. Like, that was crazy. But yeah, getting to work with dream brands. I remember going to LA with Glossier, which was really cool. Going to London with Lush. Being seen by brands that like you don't even know how they know your name. That never will blow my mind. And then getting to travel the world with you and getting to do epic things with your friends and family and bring them on experiences is always really cool too. I got to bring my mom to Paris with Amex, and that was like, I'll never forget that trip.
So cool. Sorry, I'm just going to pause. James, is there like is that a toilet flushing? Oh, you can't. Okay, I just wanted to triple check.
Someone is shitting their pants. Sorry, this was
I mean, actually, that's so potty talk. You don't even have to edit that out. That's our OG.
That's actually the spirit of potty talk coming through.
That's hilarious. Okay, so...
Wait. Sorry. I'm like, my leather is... Fuck. I think I'm good. It's just the leather that was pulling it.
I think that's nice perspective, and also remembering kind of those humble beginnings of where you come from, 2 lipsticks versus now, yeah, obviously being able to like travel the world is pretty iconic. So It's kind of a big jump, but also gives perspective that everybody has to start somewhere. So I think that's really important.
Did you ever have that phase where you thought there were like fake emails coming in? I was like,
I still have that.
Like, they want to send me to LA. You like double check the email that it's not like spam or something.
I have that all the time. I get emails right? And I'm like, Am I getting swindled? Is this really from Disney? Is this really from Apple? Like,
yeah,
it is. But
I
didn't know.
What's your favorite one? Can I ask you questions?
Can you interview me?
What is your highlight?
My favorite, like in terms of just an iconic experience,
like a cool experience that wouldn't have come without this.
Yeah. I mean, mine are similar to yours. Like starting out, it was like the simplest things felt so cool. Like getting, like self tanner for free was like, what? Like that's like crazy. I guess now it is like more the moments I get to share with other people, like whether that's like the Disney press trip where we get to go together or, you know, going on a Revolve trip with Madison. Like I feel like those are always the ones that stand out as kind of iconic, which is funny because it also just is a reminder that it's obviously a cool industry, but it's also just who you get to spend it with. And I think that's also important perspective. It's like you could be, and it's funny because I follow a lot of creators and some of them are single or some of them, you know, don't have partners. And they say, what is all this like fun for if I don't get to share it with anyone? anyone. Like,
Totally.
so the fact that we actually have like an amazing community of friends, like partners and, you know, all that good stuff that we get to share it with is to me kind of the best part now, like in this older phase of my life.
Oh, we're so old.
know?
We always say that. We've lived a million lives.
Yeah.
But I do feel so lucky. Like, we've had such full, blessed lives. And blessed, like, I know it's going when everyone's like, hashtag blessed. But, like, I do feel that way. Like, the things that I feel like I've been able to do in the last 10 years of my career is, like, what people don't even get to experience in one lifetime. So, like, it is insane. And we've always said this, even when we were like 19 and 20, we're like, this could end tomorrow. And we've had a good run. We really
100%.
have.
Yeah, it's very true. So we've talked about some of the really positive things about the industry. What about like the negatives? Like, are there some things that you feel like you learned, or maybe something that you learned early on that you like fixed and then you're like, I'm not going to fuck that up again?
Ooh.
Like, did you make a mistake in a contract? Did you make a mistake in a campaign or a communication? Or like, was there anything that stood out where you're like, okay, that like is a lesson and I'm not going to do that again?
Ooh, yeah, I think the contract one, you learn as you go and you realize that you overlook something and then your face is maybe plastered somewhere that you didn't agree to it or didn't think it was going to evolve there. So then you go, okay, noted. For next time, I'm going to put a clause in that says, you can't use my video on TV as a commercial. Nope, didn't agree to that. So I think those things you do navigate as you go. I'm lucky that there's not like a huge mess up. I always joke and say that somehow whenever like there's a couple moments where I like missed a meeting or something or completely overlooked something in my schedule, but somehow the universe has always supported me and it's been like someone else emailing being like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about our Zoom. So sorry about that. And I was like, oh, I missed that in my calendar somehow. So I have been saved by the bell quite a few times, but give me the thought starter again. What was the?
Just like something you learned. Like, I'll give you my example.
Yeah.
Like when I ended up in Times Square without my permission.
That's what I was thinking of when you
Okay,
said that.
Yeah, so maybe I was the one that had to learn the lesson for everybody.
I mean, I've had like more like, I feel like business learnings and stuff about even how I like how I work. I definitely have my fair share of breakdowns. And as much as we talk about this all the time, we work hard, but we play hard as well. And I think
Sometimes we play too hard.
sometimes we play too
But
hard.
sometimes we work too hard too. So
Totally.
there's a balance.
And when I'm in those phases of, you know, I take what I do very seriously. And although my job isn't inherently super serious, I take how I conduct myself in business very serious. And I obviously have pride in my work. And I have a lot of like even emotional attachment to my creative work. So it's sometimes I struggle, and I know I struggle more than you. And we've had, again, these conversations where I have a hard time kind of detaching and separating. And something that I've learned and had to, you know, find in myself is, and this is not necessarily specific just to influencing, but also I think like any entrepreneur, you have to learn the lesson that ultimately at the end of the day, you are responsible for everything and it all falls on you. And sometimes, you know, I talk to my friends who have 9-to-5s that are able to fully clock out at the end of the day and release, or they go on vacation, someone else can just pick up on their job for a few weeks. I don't have that where I can do that fully. And sure, this isn't to like negate, I have amazing team members around me that help me. But at the end of the day, it all falls on me. And
Well, ultimately, if we have a deadline, it's like we have a deadline.
Totally.
Like there's nothing else around it. There's
Totally.
And no one else can sit in front of the camera and film. Yeah, we can have people in the back end looking at a contract or looking at the brief. But ultimately, like if we're not showing up behind the camera, the work is not getting done.
Totally. And even I think of moments like I had like such a career high moment where I was doing a red carpet and I felt so sick that day. Like something was like up, and I have no other choice. I've been rehearsing all week for this. I've got to show up, put on my tiny little dress, even though I'm not feeling the best, and put on my makeup, do my lashes, and get out there and have a smile on my face. And again, not the hardest thing to do in the world, but there are moments where you don't feel like doing certain things, or you're just like, oh, I wish I could take a sick day, but it's not going to get done. Like there's no one to pick up that slack. So I think sometimes that is something I like struggle with. And in moments of overwhelm can like, yeah, it can like cause me to spiral. I normally say I have about 2 breakdowns a year, but I feel like it's also like every job has its moments, and everyone I think has stressors in their job. And I'm lucky that like 99% of my workload I love, and I'm happy and very fulfilled with it. So
James, what did you just say? You can't coast. Yeah, It's so true. Yeah, you can't coast. You can't phone it in. That's so true. I was going to say to that exact point, like, it's the ultimate, the show must go on mentality. Mm-hmm. Like we have to live with that every day. If we're not showing up, and sure, we can like tune off and go offline. And like, that's the other thing we struggle with, in the sense that the internet is never stopping. So sure, you can stop, but that just means your channel's going to disappear and you won't get views. So it's like,
you're
okay.
always on the treadmill. And also too, it's like, I think realizing that like no one's gonna care as much as you do, which is in some ways beautiful to release when you're thinking of like people consuming your content. It's like no one actually cares. But also on the back end when you're working and maybe working on a campaign or with more people, that no one actually cares. But I care so much. And I'm like, how can you not care? And guess what? It's my name at the end of the day that's getting slapped on this. So if there's a little mistake, they don't really care. Whereas I'll lose sleep over it. So again, it's beautiful to remember that sometimes, but also there is a lot of responsibility. And again, pride, I think. And I think that matters. Like that happens when you care about things. So it is coming from a good place. But yeah, there's definitely pressures sometimes that you're like, can't everyone just take this as seriously as I am? Which sometimes I struggle with. But also at the end of the day, it's not that serious. It's like, babe, put on your red lipstick. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
I think that's also the duality of this podcast. Cause it's like always acknowledging there's like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, we get it, like influencer. But then it's the other side, which is what you're talking about, which is like, no, these are like real people with real feelings and real jobs and like real experiences, and it does count for something. So
totally,
I think just acknowledging both sides is important. So knowing that you've now been in the industry for like 10 plus years.
Oh my God, when you put it that way, Torri.
Do you have like a campaign, a brand campaign, or an experience that stands out as like one that is kind of a pinnacle, or has it not happened yet? Like, are you kind of still like imagining that or manifesting that?
Okay, always things on the vision board. I don't like to speak them fully into existence before they happen, but highlights that I look back on. Well, there's one from this year. It was my first time ever physically being on like a billboard. It was in Dundas Square, and I used to live really close there when I first moved to Toronto, and I would walk through Dundas Square every single morning and go work in the mall in the Eaton Center. And it's so funny. I actually like remember at that time looking and being like, I want to be on one of those one day. Like I had that thought, and it was also, I also had like another voice in my head that goes like, oh, don't worry, like you will one day. Like I had peace knowing like it will happen at some point. And it's really funny. When I was younger, I thought I was going to be an actress. I thought that was going to be everything. And I almost felt like, I always joke and say that I had a midlife crisis when I was like 15, 16, because in so many ways I kind of let that chapter in that, not that dream die out, but I pivoted, and now I see it with so much more clarity. But in those moments, again, I'm 16 walking to work to go to the mall, and I was like, I have peace. I'll be on that one day. I just don't know how it's going to happen yet. I couldn't really see forward and connect the dots. Now looking back, it makes sense. But yeah, about maybe it was 2 months ago now, I did a campaign with L'Oreal, which was really fun, for a red lipstick. And it was really cool because Kendall Jenner was also in the campaign. And the way it gets like cut together, it looks like we shot a campaign together. We obviously did not. I do not know Miss Kenny J. But it was really cool to see yourself on like a very legit billboard on the massive screen in Dundas Square. That's like our Canadian version of Times Square. And getting to stand there, and my parents were there too. My dad's like crying, and like that was a cool moment for me. So that one definitely stands out. What else? I mean, yeah, the brand trips, the press trips are always insane. Yeah, I'm locking in Dundas Square right now, but
no, that's a really good answer. It's also something that doesn't happen every day, so that makes it more special. It's totally. Like you can really appreciate those moments when they come along because you ultimately do work for them and you do manifest them for 10 plus years. It's not something that necessarily is going to happen overnight, and I think that's important for young people to hear too. It's like you can go into this industry and think, I want to have 1 million followers, I want to have X, but like none of it really, I mean, unless you're super fucking lucky, none of it really happens overnight. Yeah. Like it is like the long, hard game. So.
Which is the sentiment that also we talk about a lot too, and I think I have peace with, is having peace in the roller coaster ride, not being an extreme up and an extreme down. It's having like the subtlety of the waves and not extreme peaks. And
consistent work is more important than just absolute
virality overnight. Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes it's hard to, I
mean, we say that because we've never had the reverse. Imagine like
we've had
a year from now we explode. We're like, never mind. It's way better to be completely
yeah, we just
viral.
say that because we've actually never had that level of success ever.
We're just like, yeah, keep it clean, keep it consistent.
Slow and steady, small niche numbers is actually what we're focusing on. It's like, no, I actually just can't get 1 million views on a video. So yeah, maybe I'm just self-soothing with that one.
No, but I do agree with that. Do you think, actually to that point, because this was one of my questions, is like about virality and about like the, you know, obviously brands dream of virality, but of course as creators, we dream of virality as well in different ways. Like I think having that connection and growing our audiences and typically hitting those viral moments is the best way to kind of have instantaneous growth. Like whether that's even just 10,000 followers or whatever, like it can make a difference. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like there's a world where you now, after all of your experience, can actually craft a version of virality, or do you still think it is like a happy accident the way that, you know, a video just pops off one day?
Okay, if you're a brand that wants to hire me to consult, yes, I've got the secret sauce. I've got the formula on how to make it viral. But like the real answer is no. Yes, I feel like there's so many learnings that I have for best practices. And there's sometimes I have a bit of a hunch when I know something's gonna do well. But then on the reverse, there are videos that I'm like, oh, this is so gonna pop off, and it doesn't. And I think, again, the beauty of the internet is that you never really know. But of course, I think there's things you can lean into. And if you've got like certain videos that always tend to do well, like, okay, you can follow a formula and hope for the best. But I think what I have...
That I agree with. Like, I think there's a formula that each creator kind of knows works for their audience. Whether or not that's going to create mega virality is one thing, but like your facial series, for example, it's like you knew that if you were creating content under a specific niche that was already doing well, ultimately that will hopefully drive more eyeballs to that series or to what is already going well on your channel.
Yeah.
I guess where brands go wrong is they almost look for like a moment in time to go viral, where the idea is, at least from the creator POV, it always seems like we're just trying to build out actual like longer term stories and series that then like create some excitement, and then you can like be constantly adding to that series. Like I'm moving right now, and if I'm like trying to have moving videos, then like keep fucking making moving videos. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah. Well, that was the perfect example. Like I didn't think this, I posted a video of a facial kind of walking through it. I personally just love spa, wellness, kind of like stuff. I watch that all the time too. And I posted a video and it ended up doing really well. So I was like, great, I'm going to do another one at a different location. And it kind of naturally evolved into a series. But you know what's really funny? And again, this maybe actually is the answer to the secret sauce. It's always like your bread and butter, the stuff that actually like gets you excited in your soul on a deep level. That's always my content that actually ends up going viral, which it goes to almost say that like you almost can't put, it's like the je ne sais quoi of it all. It's like I have my vegan food content, which I love, which always tends to resonate. And I don't know why, but there must be a bit of a sparkle in my eye when I make those videos, or an extra oomph of passion in my voice, or it's the Lush content, which I don't think I'm doing anything special. And it's all these silly giant jelly turtle videos that just somehow go viral. And it's like Lush was my OG like YouTube channel in so many ways. Or it's the wellness spa content, which is just what like ignites my soul. So there must be something to it that like the internet can just tell when you've got the extra sparkle behind your eye. Because it always
100%.
is like the things that I actually do love the most that end up performing the best. So I guess it's like,
it's so true,
be
right?
authentic, and that will do well. Or
No,
it's the stuff
it's
that's
true.
released like, edited and filtered. Like when there's less opinions, when you're just doing the most like stupid, unhinged, raw, authentic version of you, that actually is what always does the best.
Yeah.
Which sucks sometimes because you're like, oh, that was so embarrassing and I wish I was a bit more like professional or like that type of way. But then it wouldn't have worked.
All of that makes sense. Like first being, it's impossible to phone it in. You can't phone in virality. Like it just won't work. People see right through it unless you've gone viral for the wrong reasons and people are literally making fun of you. But to that exact point, like I think that creators have a strategy. Good creators have a strategy where they know that they're tapping into like things that they ultimately love and that are true to them, like the spa example,
right? Or
like the acting stuff that I would talk about. It's like, okay, well, naturally that's going to do well when you have a human connection to it. It feels real. It feels like very relatable. But then the other side of it is it can be actually really hard to show up online truly authentically and as yourself. So how do you balance like you as Jaclyn and then like you as Jaclyn online?
That's a good question. Well, I take it as a compliment when like you or even Adam will say that like what you see online is so what I would be like in the room with all my besties and with you guys.
Yeah.
But it definitely was learned to a degree because, and I think too, there's something about, I don't know if it is coming from the acting background or like knowing to show up and be your best self, or it's the same way that you would go to a dinner party meeting your friend's parents, or like you put on your best version. It's your telephone voice in a way. And I think it takes time to kind of unlearn that. Like it's not natural it's the same way to say, go up to a group of strangers and 100% be yourself instead of like putting on your best face. So I think it does take time to unlearn that, but it is learnable. And in the best way that now I don't even think twice about the way my voice sounds, the way the angle, the way that I'm talking, like I get to be so true, but I think it's happened just over time. Like if you, if you watch videos from even 8 years ago, 9 years ago, you can tell I'm a version of me, but there's a bit of there's something off. But again, I don't know if it also is just I'm now 26 and I'm so confident and just so who I am that, and sure, I always think I was a super confident kid, but when I was 17, 18, you're still figuring yourself out. So maybe, again, it's a combo of both, but Yeah,
I get that though. There's a sense of, especially growing up as a child actor, there's a sense of media training that I think never really leaves you. Like you're really, no matter what, pretty aware when a camera is on you. And I think what's different about an experience that you and I would have versus someone that would like pick up an iPhone now and film is like when we associate to a camera, we associate it to a job.
Yeah.
Because we always have, because it was always work.
And I think it's a
Whereas
double-edged...
like for like, sorry to interrupt, but like for like an Alex Earl or whoever, it's like, that's not a job. She's just like shooting the shit to like talk about her hangover. So it is actually, yeah, it's like really tricky if you've come up in a, it's like if you were an Olympian, it'd be really different to like jump in a pool and be like, I'm just going to go for a swim. Like if you were an Olympic swimmer, you'd be like, no, I'm going to swim the way my trainer always trained me to swim.
200%. Whoa, good analogy. Did you just think of that on the spot?
I did. But it's like, that's how I feel when a camera's on me. No, I'm going to be the way I was always trained to be.
Totally. And that's the thing. It's like, yes, I am for
like
sure.
Dance monkey.
For sure. No, there's a bit of a like performance to it. And I think I am so authentically the 40% that I choose to share online. But I am very selective. And I think in a healthy way, like and we've talked about this again offline as well, where the beauty of the internet is that there are no barriers, but I think actually it can cause a lot of issues with certain creators that use the internet fully as their therapist, which again can be beautiful to have a community, but there can be a level of oversharing and being almost too vulnerable online that you have no boundaries. And I think something that I admire about you, and I think I try to also instill, is having healthy boundaries. And as much as I share certain parts of me wholeheartedly, there's also so much of my life that I don't share, which for me is why I can sleep comfortably at night and feel good. And I don't actually regret anything I've ever posted online because I've always had a healthy sense of boundaries. And there's a degree that I've always taken it seriously to the sense that I've always known about a digital footprint, and I would never post anything that I wouldn't want a brand partner to see or my grandma to see, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know what that is. I've been like that though since I was like 7 years old, I think, genuinely.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a learned sport. Like I think our generation is also a little bit more cautious of digital footprints than Gen Z. It scares me a little bit how open Gen Z is. They're just like, here's my vape and rah. And I'm like, oh, like what about a future employer?
Yeah, like I'm comfortable online. I'll film in a bathtub, but I won't film on the toilet yet. But maybe give me a few more years and I'll be vlogging from there.
That's funny. Do you think that like that's one of your like secret sauces, or like do you have something that you think makes you stand out as a creator? Because you obviously have had longevity in the industry. Like, do you have some things that you would, you know, advise for younger people that kind of make you stand out as a creator?
Interesting. It's like, I guess I'd have to interview everyone else that I work with. I feel really lucky. I think a lot of the people that I work with, I feel grateful that I think for the most part, people have positive experiences. So I feel grateful to have returning partners. And I think people that have ever worked with me know that I take it seriously and respect what they're doing and what I'm doing. And I think that has been helpful for the longevity aspect of it. But yeah, I think if I was to go really inwards, I think I've always said that my niche is not having a niche. And I remember being in like a YouTube session, probably when I was like 18, at like one of those like YouTube space, you know, best practices. And they were saying niche down, pick your thing and stick with it. So if your eyeliner tutorials go viral, only post eyeliner tutorials. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, but I just like have a million different interests. And something that I think, even as a kid, I think like, I'm so grateful looking back that I got to explore so many different things. I was able to like, you know, do all my sports. I was able to be a cheerleader. I was able to be a student's council. I was able to try everything else. And I love it. The thing is, I just love life. And I have such curiosity and excitement for life that sure, I was posting some beauty content, but I also love all my vegan cooking videos. And I also love rock climbing. And I also love doing kayaking and jet ski, like all these different things, which I think is really like anyone that's just a dynamic 4-dimensional human. And I've never held on to any of those things. I've always liked to explore and post about it. So I always jokingly would say that my niche is not having a niche. And that just felt very inherent to who I was, that I love makeup and I'm a makeup artist, but that's like 5% of my life. And I also have, actually maybe my cooking and my food stuff is actually a bigger part of my life because I'm eating food every day. I'm not necessarily doing prosthetic makeup every day. So I think allowing myself the freedom to also grow up online and explore different interests has always given me a lot of creative relief that I don't have to post a makeup tutorial every single day. I can try this out. And as I grow and evolve and have new interests, I can explore that. And I've always just kind of almost documented my life more than documented my special skills. Because I also think at the end of the day, I'm not actually amazing at anything. Like tactical, like skills. You know what I mean? I think I can try a lot of things and I'm curious and eager to learn. And maybe that is the skill within itself. But I actually don't think I'm the best artistic makeup artist. I don't think I'm the best painter or sculptor. I think I can get by and I'm good, sure. But I don't think like my purpose on this earth is to like be painting the best winged eyeliner ever.
Right. It's like jack of all trades, master of none. But in some ways, at least from a brand perspective or even like growing your business perspective, that's so much more positive, right? Because it opens up so many more doors. And I mean, we used to chat about this, but even when you look at creators now, if they're like really niched into makeup things, they're like, wow, how do you get to go on like that cool entertainment press trip? It's like, well, babe, if you're not posting about entertainment, you're not going to be invited. Like there's ways to show different parts of you and open up. And also baseline, I feel like audiences like that better. They're like, hey, we want to get to know other parts of you. It's not just about Jaclyn, the makeup artist. It's like, yeah, we like when you jump on a jet ski and like go 55 miles an hour. Because doesn't that have like an insane amount of millions of views?
Actually, yeah, and inspired by you. You told me to do that. So I owe that to you.
Content producer.
So the real secret sauce is get a Torri Webster to give you an idea.
No, I think just a friend that knows you, and when they see content that is like in your niche, send it to them and be like, hey, create this. Yeah. There you go. So on that note, do you have like an influencer or someone in the space that you feel like you look up to or emulate, or like you want to like, or you're inspired by their career, or like, is there anyone like that you kind of follow?
Well, not to be like emo, but on a very human level, you have taught me so much.
Oh, cry. I feel like you can cry. No, I'm kidding.
My beautiful Torri. But no, I met you when I was 18. You must have been 19, I think. And you were, I feel like, doing the business side of like Instagram a lot more. And I was, you know, on YouTube, and we kind of were in slightly different worlds, but there was some overlap. And I remember always asking you for certain advice. And you were much more like business savvy and less emotional. I was way more emotional about my work at the beginning. So I'm very grateful for you. But growing up online too and watching tons of people, Megan Hart's makeup, I always shout her out. And it's crazy to me now because she like follows me on Instagram and like will message me and like,
that's cute.
And I'm like, you were my everything. When I was like 13 years old, like I wanted to be you, and it's crazy. But I remember seeing her do, did something with 17 magazine and was doing hair tutorials in 17 magazine. And I was like, this is someone that I watch online, but now they're in like the real magazine that I subscribe to. Like this is crossovers happening. So that's kind of when I was like, oh, this is like bleeding into the real world, and it's like tangible and like not just in this internet bubble. So I always say she was very OG for me. Again, there's so many OG YouTubers that I would be here for like an hour if I was listing every single person. Current day though, well on YouTube, more OG too. I still love Claudia Slowski. Her video editing was
she's an amazing editor.
Yeah, she has like such a creative eye and was always a little out of the box, which I always found her very inspiring in that way. Current day though, I love her handle on Instagram is Steph H, but the E in Steph is an X. She does super cool,
makeup,
fun,
right?
creative
You've
makeup.
Told me about her.
I find her like super inspirational, and I just love all the looks she does. So she will inspire me to do my makeup in new ways.
I love that.
It's funny. I feel like a lot of maybe the things that I love from so many different creators, like I don't take any credit for my existence. Like I am only all the parts of other people that I plucked and tried to emulate. Yeah. And this person might be an amazing editor, so I like to learn from them. And this person might be an amazing makeup artist, and I just like pluck on my favorite traits from certain people, and I'm like, I'm copying all the people around me.
It makes sense. There's no original idea. I think one thing I've enjoyed about getting to watch Gen Z grow up is like their je ne give a fuck like mentality. Like, have you been seeing this like Halle Battinger or Halle?
Yes.
Man, like
great in the sandwich of the day, lime juice.
Like
that guy.
To be able to, like,
love him.
I really respect it. Like to be able to show up on the internet and just be like balls to the walls. Like she was like playing like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Jack Sparrow. I just saw that.
And I'm like, yes, but also like, wow, like that's just a different, it's showing up in such a different way. And like, yes, when these cameras go off and you and I are offline, like, are we absolutely batshit crazy together?
Absolutely.
100%. Like we are such weird people. Like we do 40 experiences like on the subway. Like we are weird.
Yeah.
But it's like, I somehow don't show up like that online. Again, I don't know if that's the media training, if it's the millennial in me, if it's the fact that like, I just want a long career and I just want to make money, or like I don't know what it is, but I can't.
You're allowed to though, and I think that makes sense. Like,
oh, for sure. I'm saying I appreciate that. Yeah. I like to watch it as a consumer. I'm like, this is fucking nuts. Like,
yeah, no, I agree, and it's so fun, and that's what makes social amazing. It's like, whoa, like
I can appreciate people showing up in different ways, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and you look at me and think, oh my gosh, you even maybe show more of your wacky side than you feel like you do. Yeah. But then I look at some other creators on TikTok, and I'm like, I would never do that, but hell yeah, that's amazing.
It's true.
I think there's always maybe people that
there's room for everyone. There's room for everyone. You as a creator, do you feel like you've had some failure? Like, we've talked a lot about the positive stuff, obviously, but like, do you feel like you have had some failures and or like regrets? Like, have you taken a campaign or done something where you're like, oh, that was a mistake?
There's not like a crazy campaign that I'm like, oh, that brand was so misaligned. Like, I hate that I did that. I think it's more, you kind of like get like a gut instinct when you even get an email come in your inbox. Was that me?
No, it's me. Sorry.
That is not very Torri Webster of you.
Should we answer it live on the live caller? Hello?
Spam.
Oh my God, it's spam. That's
Spam.
not even fun.
Do you want to restart the question or keep going?
I can restart it. Just in case we do want to cut that out. Okay, so we've chatted about obviously some of the really good, exciting, fun, positive parts of the industry, but do you feel like you have any failures and or specific campaigns where you're just like, oh, I kind of regret that. That wasn't on brand for me, or just like a failure where you're like, I tried this and that was not it?
Ooh, there's not like a specific campaign that I'm like, oh, that was so off brand. Like, I shouldn't have taken that. But I think it's more like I have learnings. When an email comes to my inbox, I have a gut instinct always. And you're like, oh, I'm either so excited to do this, like, heck yes, I'm going to do anything to make this happen. Or you're like, oh, it feels a little weird, or maybe they're not understanding my vibe as much, but maybe we can make it work. Or you hop on a phone call and like, it's not giving collaboration. They're just trying to like copy, paste, put you into a certain box. So I feel like it's always the ones that, and I guess it's like anything, right? You have learnings working with different people. Maybe you just don't work well with certain types of people, or people don't fully get you. And I've tried to lean into more like when you have that little gut instinct to be like, okay, you know what? I can have power in walking away, and it's not worth it behind the scenes to even be like fighting just to like keep my voice authentic. And I feel like pretty lucky that again, at the end of the day, it's my name going on it, so I will fight for it, that I would never post something that feels truly like, I'm not posting like 100% beef burger as a vegan. Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so luckily, I feel like I've had good boundaries in that sense. But yeah, behind the scenes, there's things that I've regretted being like, this person does not respect my time, respect me, that I won't work with certain people again. But I feel like that's more of a human thing versus like a brand thing. But I mean, maybe like my first campaign that I ever did, I feel like I did like a teeth whitening thing on Instagram that all the Instagram girlies were doing.
That's where my head went.
Like,
When I was asking these questions, like I
Yeah.
had this like random mate fit. Like, you remember those like skinny tees?
This is the yoga one, right?
But like, I just wanted some money to go to the bar. Like, I'm just being real. Like, it wasn't that deep, but I do think time, I mean, we were joking about like this slow growth, but it's like, yeah, being able to have 10 years in an industry and like having slow growth, it does give you the ability to then be much more selective, and also to sit there and say, yeah, like I am going to pass on this random check because I don't need to say yes to it. And because I do want it to feel authentic, and I do want to like have high quality brand partners, et cetera, et cetera.
Totally.
Which obviously is not the case when you're just getting started.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I think my first campaign was eye patches, like under eye, like, you know, like.
Well, that's still on brand.
It actually did feel on brand, and it was, I think, kind of a sketchy email thread. I think I got paid on PayPal.
It was always PayPal.
It was always PayPal, but no, I don't think I've done anything.
Have you ever not been paid for a campaign?
Yes.
You have.
Yes. Oh,
I haven't in all my years.
Oh, okay. Okay. So actually, I take that back. I've almost not gotten paid.
Okay, so you have been paid for every campaign.
Yes.
I think I have too.
Okay.
Which is honestly, in this industry, pretty epic.
Yes.
To say.
But I think that opens the combo to creatives never getting paid on time.
I talked about this in my last episode. I said, if you want to be a creator, be prepared to wait 90 days to get paid.
And it's like, no matter what it says in the contract, and
yeah, what's that about? Like, why does everyone else get paid on every 2 Friday mark and creators have to wait 100 years?
Totally. And then people just pass off the responsibility. And it's like, I know if the person I'm emailing wasn't getting their biweekly check, they would not come into work that day. And I'm like, it's been the response situation 8 months and I was not paid. And it's like, at a certain point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm being so annoying following up. And then I'm like, wait, no, I'm not. I haven't been paid in 8 months. Like, you're lucky I'm not taking you to a small claims court. Like,
well, absolutely. It's also crazy because in our line of work, most of our job has to already be done before you even get to the invoicing stage.
Totally.
So for them, by that point, they just are seeing the dollar bills and they're like, oh, well, the content's live, everything's done. So now what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, but there's still like a human on the other side of that. Everybody's got to eat.
I just remembered there was one thing I didn't get properly paid for.
Should we call them out?
I'm not going to say that specific brand. I don't even know if they exist anymore. And maybe, again, key learning. I was working more with an intermediary. And the company basically I was supposed to be doing a Instagram video for a specific makeup thing. I'm like, how do I not give this all away?
Yeah.
You know, again, trying to keep that digital footprint clean. And again, it's funny. Why do I feel the need to protect someone that did me dirty? I don't know what that is. Like, that's where I wish I had more like oomph in me to call people out. But I feel like I reserve my moments. When I do call someone out, they'll know it was really, really bad.
It's for real. Like Lucas in like This Is My Time to Shine. Lucas that worked at that steakhouse in Charleston. I said I was gonna cancel him, and here I am.
No.
I have problems with him. I'm putting that.
What if he sees
I'm putting that live on the internet.
No.
Fine, maybe
no
James
comment.
can cut around that, but we'll see.
Oh no.
Had to get it off my chest, and I said I would.
If you feel better. You know what? Sorry, I feel like I also like love these twirly chairs. I've been twirling this whole episode, so sorry about that. But no, long story long, they took advantage of the fact they wanted to see like raw footage of me applying the product. And they actually used that raw footage and like fully put it in a commercial, edited me with like other creators who
That's horrible.
I would not have wanted to be aligned with. And I ended up seeing this thing. They denied it. They were lying to me. It was like this actual like scandal, which luckily the intermediary company that I was working with stepped in and ended up trying to make things right. But they scammed me. They scammed me.
You.
They scammed me in the end. I had to just walk away, but
it happens. But I think that's why it's important to call out, because I think people don't always know. But it is just important, to like do your due diligence, like read, make sure those emails are not random at Gmail emails. Totally. Make sure that you're not like making deals with scammers. Like,
well, and as much as I wanted to, like, obviously, of course, and ultimately they were responsible for completely scamming and taking advantage of me, and they were for sure in the wrong. There's no doubt there. But I had to take a second and be like, well, you know what? This, as much as the product I actually liked and I had tested it and whatever, I didn't really know this company. They were kind of like one of those Instagram companies that doesn't really exist and have a brick and mortar store in real life. And I had a trust in the intermediary company that I was working with. So I expected them to have done their due diligence, that this was like a legitimate company to work with, which was also, again, my fault. At the end of the day, it's my name going on it, so I should have probably been better. But ultimately, fuck that company. They were bad.
That's insane.
Boo, we hate them. And I've never talked about them again.
No, but everyone has like stories like that where you just you whatever, you got down the wrong track and then you have to pivot and you're like, all right, like there's some L's every once in a while, or like campaigns don't roll out perfectly the way that they're meant to. Or I was chatting about in the last episode how sometimes something can fall in your inbox and it's like live within the next 3 days and you're paid within 30 days, and that's amazing. But there's another side of the industry where it's like you could be in a back and forth negotiation for what can feel like 6 months, and then they go in a different direction and you're like, well, shit, like
totally. I've even done things before where like you've sent in sample, like almost audition videos for things and like edited things, and you got
you basically are doing work. Like, there's
absolutely.
a version, I mean, for agencies, like they have the RFP process where like, you know, as an agency, you've got to pitch yourself out and do all that. And in some ways, influencers don't have that. Like, yes, we have media kits. Yes, like we sometimes have to do auditions or like go in and actually like create sample content. But usually that's pretty rare. Yeah. So like we do have it kind of easy.
Totally. And that's the thing. It's so much more fun to bitch about things that went wrong than to like highlight the 99% of the amazing people I work with and the returning people I work with. Like most people that
are amazing.
Yes, most people are amazing and incredible to work with, and everyone just has the common goal of like working hard, making cool shit.
Yeah,
it is the 1% of people that like. It's just so much more fun to talk about people that have done you wrong and don't pay you. But
it's true.
Luckily, I feel pretty blessed. Yeah, and like any job inherently, like especially a creative job or as an artist, to be able to like work with amazing partners and make money is insane.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of a dream.
Hashtag blessing.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
So to close off, I think that's a great place to end. We've gone full circle. Have you learned anything on TikTok this week?
Oh, I love TikTok. I didn't make it to university, so TikTok is everything I've learned. What have I learned on TikTok? You know what? I'm watching this amazing like glass maker who makes this like making cool little creations with, she did like striped glass pillow plate.
Okay.
I don't know what else that means other than it was a pillow looking plate with stripes. And I was just watching her glass making journey, and I think I want to become a glass maker now.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
I'm very taken by the like cucumber salad journey.
Logan, not Lucas. Oh,
Logan.
We're calling it. Logan, the cucumber guy.
Logan, the cucumber guy.
The earpiece is falling out. This is such a production.
And
Logan.
Who else am I taken by right now? I like obviously the whole demure, mindful,
very classy, very demure.
My issue with the internet is like they just can't let things die. Like when something goes so viral like that, it feels like it's like
everywhere.
Yeah, like and then it almost gets eaten in every single form of media. Like, did you see Kim Kardashian just post a photo like posing, and she's like very, very demure, very mindful.
No, I didn't see her. It is everywhere now.
I do kind of love. Like I love when the internet like kind of bandwagons together and everything. But then like after 3 weeks, you're kind of like, okay, can we get another slag line? Like,
yeah, I can't hear it anymore.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like all the little micro trends that like suddenly are everywhere within 48 hours, and you're like, I can't see one more video about this.
Yeah.
No, the cucumber salad I need to make.
Me too.
What else is going viral right now? Yeah, it's the cucumbers and demures everywhere.
Yeah.
And personally, jelly turtle content if you're on my feed. But that
I still don't fully understand that, but
your comment was like, what am I watching? And I was like,
I just
baby
wasn't
girl.
sure.
And I said, you're seeing
Why
exactly.
is it broken?
Oh, that was my fault.
Oh.
I broke it. I made it to a coffee grinder in my bathtub.
You
and
did?
I killed the jelly turtle. It's not a real turtle. Don't worry, I'm vegan. I love animals.
Oh, okay. So am I like missing the series on TikTok? Understood.
No, you're not missing it. Actually, what you saw, it made no sense. That you saw it exactly for what it is.
Oh.
And if you were confused, that was the correct takeaway.
Oh. See, sometimes creators, they're going to throw you for a loop and just confuse you and just try to get those views. Why not? Wow. Okay, well, this was an amazing episode. Thank you for coming. I know
Tor.
Very different patter and banter than our previous podcast, but I think this was very valuable for people. I hope it was. And thank you, buddy. Love ya.
Thanks, Tor, for having
thanks for
me.
tuning into the pod. And we will see you in the next episode. Love ya. Mean it. Bye.
Bye.